In this video, I'll give a quick review of Alastair Reynolds' novel Halcyon Years. I've been a fan of Alastair Reynolds' writing since I read Revelation Space 20 years ago. I also like the occasional noir detective story, typically on film, but sometimes in novel form. Reynolds' novel Halcyon Years is best described as generation ship politics meets noir crime fiction. So what's the setup for Halcyon Years? The story happens on a generation ship called Halcyon that has 50 kilometers of living space inside of it. It's set up as a large open countryside with space for some wilderness, a couple cities, and some private estates. Everyone aboard knows they're on a generation ship, so that isn't like a lost secret like it is in some generation ship books. They're all headed to a new life on a new planet, and they have another 45 years or so to go before they get there. The Department of Works sends a woman named Ruby Blue, who meets the typical mysterious and attractive client mold seen in noir fiction, to hire Private Investigator Yuri Gagarin. He's asked to investigate the death of Juliana Del Rosso, the daughter of one of the two wealthiest families in Halcyon. Juliana recently died in the Gladeview Clinic after an excursion outside the ship. Ruby Blue doesn't believe Juliana's death happened the way it was reported by the Del Rosso family, and she gives Yuri a name, Lenny Litz, the policeman who initially investigated the death. Yuri is supposed to meet him to get some facts and a sense of how Litz's investigation went when he was working the case. Yuri has some time before meeting Lenny, so he visits Gladeview Clinic and talks to Juliana Del Rosso's doctor, a guy named Appolisi. During that visit, something happens that puts police crosshairs on Yuri and tells him there's a lot more going on than just a simple death in the family. So who are the characters in Halcyon Years? This Yuri Gagarin is the Yuri Gagarin of Soviet cosmonaut fame, even though that Yuri supposedly died in an airplane crash in 1968 when he was 34 years old. Similar to Sam Spade, Yuri doesn't carry a gun. He does get a robot assistant that he named Sputnik after the first Earth satellite, which was launched by the USSR back in 1957. The relationship between Yuri and the cop, Lenny, seemed like a buddy film situation with animosity turning to friendliness by the end. Ruby Blue has secrets that she's hiding from Yuri, and he goes about business without seeming to care much, as if he believes her secrets will come out eventually, whether he pries or not. To me, it seemed kind of strange for a private investigator hired by someone not to be curious about who that someone actually is. But hey, I'm not a cop or a detective, so there you go. There are some other minor characters like Yuri's friend Milvis, who comes across as a conspiracy nut, and Dr. Vidette Appolisi, who was married to the doctor that he visited at the Gladeview Clinic. That's her connection to the clinic. Her and her husband had run it as a couple. Yuri himself was a fairly interesting character because multiple hints are dropped that he may not be that Yuri Gagarin that you think he is. Lenny reluctantly helps Yuri along, and Sputnik is a robot, so he has no choice but to follow Yuri's orders to the letter. The Del Rosso and Uri families are stereotypical rich people looking down on everyone else. They're also enemies. Both families have a stake in Yuri's investigation failing. For me, Uri was a poor choice of name for one of the rich families since the main character's name was Yuri, and I kept pronouncing it Uri as Yuri in my head, basically seeming like the same thing. If these names are references to other noir fiction, let me know in the comments, because I don't know. So what is the ship Halcyon like? Halcyon is presented like a throwback to a United States city and countryside circa the 1920s, or maybe my mind just imposed that feeling on it while reading, I'm not sure. The descriptions are minimal and kind of plain when Yuri is in the city. When he goes to one of the richer areas, the descriptions get more detailed and colorful. This might have been intended partially to capture the noir feeling as seen in an old black and white movie, and partially to show the rich people living far differently, i.e. more colorfully, than other people in Halcyon whom they believe to have a drab, i.e. black and white, existence. So is the plot any good? Most of the detective fiction I've read has wheels within wheels. The private eye unravels one level and finds out there's something deeper. Yuri's investigation in Halcyon Years leads to a similar unraveling. As suspected, there's more to Juliana Del Rosso's death, and it all leads to a big revelation about the fate of Halcyon and its people. There are also some deeper revelations about Yuri himself that come out through the course of the tale. Good detective fiction often has a plot twist that the reader didn't see coming. For me, there wasn't a point like that in this book. Reynolds put clues in that hinted at the bigger moments, and the ending laid out what was going on. Enough of it had been hinted at or sketched out by Yuri himself that there wasn't really a big twist moment for me. So does it work as noir? The only noir crime novels I've read before are The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett, The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler, and Gun with Occasional Music by Jonathan Lethem. With those for comparison, I thought Reynolds captured the noir vibe pretty well. I've read more of Reynolds' fiction than any other science fiction author, and if I had expected this book to be like a lot of his other fiction, I'd have probably been vastly disappointed. But I didn't, so it was actually a pretty decent book. Compared to some of his other books, the writing style in Halcyon Years was kind of minimalistic. However, I knew what I was getting into before I read it and was able to adjust my expectations appropriately. I enjoyed this book, though I'll say I don't think it's one of his best. I'd rate Halcyon Years a 6 out of 10. It's a solid effort at mixing science fiction and noir detective fiction. One other thing about the book. I had a problem with the idea that cars were a thing in a generation ship. They were electric, so fuel isn't the thing that bugged me. It was this. Who would design a 50-kilometer long generational living space to use cars as transport? It makes more sense for a relatively small space to have a rail system. However, by the novel's ending, this disbelief went away. When I read what was really going on with the ship, I understood and could see why the cars were used the way they were. If you read Halcyon Years and the car thing bugs you too, don't let it kick you out of the story. There's an explanation for it. I've now read 10 novels and 3 short story collections by Reynolds. I liked most of them a lot. Most of the rest of his books are waiting on my Kindle for me to get to one of these days. Like I said earlier, he's probably my favorite science fiction author, though I have been reading a lot of Adrian Tchaikovsky lately, and I like his stuff a lot too. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. You can check out a modified version of this review on my Substack linked below and see other reviews on this channel. So bye for now.